Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
We have a question, a lengthy question that's come in from India, and I'm going to try to condense it down. Thank you so much, Sajal, for writing to us. A child, a boy, just turned 4, diagnosed with ASD at the age of 2.5, does not have siblings. They started it with 7.5 hours a week of ABA. They were doing other things, 2 hours a day of neurotypical play with school shadow, OT 2 hours a week. He was verbal at the time of diagnosis, but it was mainly tacting, low manding, and low interverbals. Since COVID, he's getting 45 minutes of ABA a day, then 45 minutes of online class with neurotypical kids from school and continuing with the OT. They're getting some RDI once a week, and they recently joined Skills. So they have the Skills software for 2 months. His latest evaluation says that he has ASD with no language impairment and intellectual impairment. So I don't know if that's no language impairment and no intellectual impairment, or we're saying that he does have intellectual impairment. Maybe Sajal, write us back and tell us. But it's his social skills with peers that are really a problem. He has an obsession with animals, which limits his conversation and social skills. Unless they're in a very structured activity, he perseverates on that and wants to do animal noises, pretend animal noises. And so they're wanting to know, will if they get him a 20 to 24 hours a week ABA program with one-to-one therapy, would it help him with this and with his deficits? They say they try to stimulate him as much as possible. He does not, and they wrote back and said he does not have intellectual impairment. So for a child like this, would a 20 to 24 hour program, ABA program, help them?
Yes. Wonderful. So glad that you wrote all the detail. Let me just start by saying yes, absolutely. The very first point that I wrote down for myself as Shannon was reading was that the intensity of ABA he's receiving is not high enough. It is extremely low. What he was, 45 minutes a day or even 7.5 hours. So, and I like the question because it is a question that a lot of parents ask me, and we should just touch on this briefly because, as parents, we see the deficits. And so, this is a great example because this is a child who has language and he has no intellectual impairment. And so the main thing that you as a parent are concerned about is social development, right? So, and I will tell you that there are a lot of prerequisite skills that have to be in place for the social development to take place. It's not as easy as saying, hey, let's just put him with other kids and guide him a little bit and he will start to have normal social development. It's not that easy. It's not like that. There's a lot of things that are involved. For example, when you are talking about just social communication, that's one lesson in our program. What we're talking about is teaching the child to differentiate between approaching one other child as opposed to approaching a group of children. If you think about it, those behaviors are different, right? So the child has to learn both of those. And then once you've approached, let's say, a group or a single other child, how do you bring up a topic that is of interest to both of you? How do you read the facial expressions and gestures of the other children so that if they get bored, you know that it's, first of all, you understand that they are getting bored, you interpret their facial expressions correctly, and then you change the subject to something that is of interest to them. How do you take turns with them, allowing them to talk about things they're interested in? How do you listen to those things and ask appropriate questions? How do you repair the relationship if a child gets angry or walks away from boredom or whatever it is? There are tons of little steps that have to be taught to the child one by one before a social interaction becomes appropriate. And I just used one example. I mean, if the same child now wants to enter a group of adults, his entire interaction is going to be different than entering a group of children. So these are a lot of different subtle things. And I also tell you that a lot of times our kids might have appropriate speech, but their advanced language concepts, like pragmatic language, is not really there. So what I would recommend for you is not to worry so much about just, how do I fix or keep him active or all that. Get as many hours as you can. 20 to 24 or 25 is like the bottom of what I feel is effective, but it will make a big difference for him. Get those hours, and you're on skills now, so you've answered the questions. Start at the basic stuff that he's not good at, whether it doesn't have to be in the social curriculum. It'll maybe be in language curriculum or executive functioning or cognition or those areas, and start with the youngest level lessons and just pound away and go at it in 25, 24 hours, and keep doing that for a while, and you'll see that things will change and he'll start to put it together in a much more cohesive way.
Thank you for all of that. I got to tell you, Dr. Grandpichet, this is one of the biggest like hurdles in my day, is that I sort of feel like it's like the FedEx arrow. Do people know about the FedEx arrow? When you look at the logo of FedEx, there is a hidden arrow embedded in the logo. And until you've seen it, you can look at the FedEx logo a million times and you don't see it. But once somebody points it out to you and shows you where the hidden arrow is, you can never unsee it again. You always see it. And I see that with parents, everybody, including myself in the beginning goes, that just sounds like too many hours. 24 hours a week for a child, of ABA, and we clutch our pearls and our hair and we're like, somebody, call in the troops, because it just seems crazy. But then once you see that that's what's effective and you really get it, you can never unsee it again. And I'm always trying to get people over that hurdle to the place where they can see it. And my new thing that I was thinking about yesterday is, because I tell people about the science, I tell them about our experience, I tell them about other people, and everybody's still like, I don't know. And now my thing is, I just want to challenge everybody. You don't have to believe it. I just want you to, so that you can quiet your mind and live with no regret. I'm challenging people, just try it for 3 months.
Yeah.
Just try it for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, if you don't feel like your child doing a really intense program has been life-changing, then call me up and tell me I'm an idiot. I guarantee you nobody's going to call me. But if you don't do it, and you have a small child and you say, I just don't know if it's going to work, and it's such a commitment. If you don't try it, I guarantee you that later on you're going to wonder, could we have had more progress?
Yeah.
And I know what that is like. I sit and hold the hands of parents who say, I think we missed the boat. Mm-hmm. And I wish we could go back in time. So you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe the science. You don't even have to believe Dr. Grandpichet, who can tell you how many thousands of children she has seen. All the scientists say the same thing, that intensity it's crucial. But if you won't believe all that, I challenge you. I dare you to do it 3 months. I'm not talking about a week or 3 weeks. Get 3 months. And if you don't see that it's life-changing, please, I will pie myself on camera if somebody tells me that it wasn't life-changing. I pledge and I promise. I guarantee you'll find it life-changing.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, Dr. Grant-Pichet?
No, you're 100% right, Shannon. And I kind of understand whenever you tell me that, it just kind of makes sense to me. I never really thought about it because I kind of grew up with an intensive program, right? I mean, I was at the UCLA program where we every child who came in would receive 40 hours. There was no such thing as less than 40 hours. Every single program was a 40-hour program. And I wish that we had kept it that way. In fact, like the original study, just so everybody knows, showed that if you took matched children, so children in two groups, and they were matched on IQ and capabilities and all of that, and if you gave one group 40 hours a week and the other group 10 hours a week, the group that was 40 hours a week, half of those children achieved normal intelligence and were placed in regular education. And of the group that received 10 hours, only one child, so that was 2% of the group, actually achieved that. And I have to say, it's super important. Intensity is the dosage of ABA. And it's like if someone tells you take 20 milligrams of something and you decide to take 2, it's not going to work, right? So it's just that simple. And I'm really happy this family is on skills, because you now have the ability to see how many things have to be caught up. It's not just social behavior. It's a lot of stuff that goes into social behavior. And I saw that the same mom has asked how to decrease the animal obsessions. And I want to say it's also not as simple as just saying, hey, you're not allowed to obsess on animals anymore. If you have a group of people, or if you can put together, and I know you're not in the US, but if you can put together a team of people, students, let's say, from high school or college, who can be trained. And of course, we've developed the training online through our other company called Institute for Behavioral Training. You can go on there and it's all video training, and these folks can learn the techniques of ABA. And if you can do that for 25 hours and you can use skills to guide you, you'll see that we don't just prevent obsessions, we redirect them to something that's a little bit more appropriate. For example, with your child who's obsessed with animals, depending on the age of the child, there might be certain activities that are okay that have to do with animals. Let's say if it's a young child, it could be, coloring animals or doing paint by number with animals. If it's an older child, it could be reading about animals. It could be a variety of things. In fact, over the course of time, you just want to kind of redirect this into an appropriate avenue. Maybe this child will be someone who will become a groomer of animals, a caretaker of animals, or something that is going to also give the child, joy in his occupation in the future. But my point, and then what you do is you restrict it so that the child is only engaging in that thing that he's obsessed with at a narrow period of time, as opposed to the entire day. So these are not things that I really recommend parents try to do on their own. I truly think that it would be important for you to connect with a behavior analyst, a BCBA, and someone who has a little bit of experience. And of course, even if you're international, there's a lot of companies that will give you guidance through a BCBA on Zoom, and will help you to kind of monitor things and set these programs into place. But you do need to get the child into a more intensive, and even 24 hours, honestly, is not intensive. It's kind of a medium level program, but if your child is high functioning and has some speech and no intellectual disability, then it might be the appropriate number to start with.
Okay, we got a lot of things we got to address here. First of all, Amanda, who always has my back, wrote it and said, make sure when I'm telling people to do ABA to mention the hallmark, which is you've got to do quality ABA. And yes, Amanda, you're absolutely right. It has to be quality ABA. And we talk a lot on this show about how to differentiate quality ABA from some of the things that are out there. Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.